Today, we're running a new experiment. The challenge? I'm only taking reversal trades, and every single one needs to aim for at least 200 pips. Yeah, sounds ambitious, but let's see what happens. And hey, if you like these kinds of trading experiments, make sure to drop a like and leave a comment. It really helps me know what to test next and pushes the channel forward. Now, of course, I'm not doing this blindly. I'll be using an indicator to help me spot those reversals. For that, I'm testing out the Smart Oscillator by Smart Algo. The strategy is pretty straightforward too. I'll only take an entry if a divergence signal shows up when the histogram crosses above or below the high and low line. If there's just a divergence but no break past the line, I'm not touching it. At least one histogram bar has to break past that high and low line before I even think about entering. So yeah, clean rules. A minimum 200 pip target. And we'll see if this smart oscillator can actually deliver solid reversals, or if I'm just setting myself up for pain. Alright guys, let's jump into trade one of this 200 pip reversal challenge. We're on gold, 5-minute time frame. The smart oscillator just printed a clean bullish divergent signal, and importantly, one of the histograms actually crossed below the low line. So it meets the entry rule. I entered at 3359.25. with a stop loss at 3354.25, which is 50 pips below. The target is at 3349.25, a full 200 pips, keeping it consistent with the challenge rules. The lot size is fixed at 0.05 lots, since we're running this on a $100 account. Now, a quick side note. The reason I'm using this smart oscillator is because it's not like a regular RSI or MACD. It automatically marks divergences and gives reversal markers when momentum hits extreme zones. Basically, it saves me from forcing trades that aren't really there. That's why I trust it for this kind of challenge. But yeah, gold didn't play nice this time. Price went up around 50 pips, then snapped back and hit the stop loss. That's a $25 hit right out of the gate. Not exactly how you want to start a challenge, but hey, this is the reality of running these kinds of experiments. Rules are rules. A minimum 200 pip target, so no early exits, no partials. We'll take the loss and move on to the next setup. Alright, we're still on gold, 5-minute time frame. This time, the smart oscillator printed another clean bullish divergence, and importantly, the histograms pushed below the low line, so it qualifies under the entry rules. No forcing, no guessing, just following the setup. I went long at 3352.29 with the stop loss at 3347.29, keeping that consistent 50 pip risk. And for the target, same rule as always, a minimum 200 pips. That put the take profit up at 3372.29. The lot size is still fixed at 0.05 lots. Now this is where I really like how the smart oscillator works. Remember what I said earlier? It's not just throwing signals everywhere, like some cheap divergence indicators. It actually waits for momentum to hit extreme zones, and then confirms with that histogram break. And this time, gold behaved. Price climbed steadily, no crazy whipsaws, and eventually pushed all the way to the 200 pip target. That's a plus $100 win, wiping out the first loss and putting the account back in profit. Not gonna lie, this felt really good, because after taking a loss on the very first trade of a challenge, you always wonder if it's just gonna spiral down. But this one proved the rules can work if you stick to them. So yeah, after 2 trades, the account is sitting at a plus $75 overall. Moving on to trade 3 of this 200 pip reversal challenge. This time, the smart oscillator flagged a clean bearish divergence, and importantly, one of the histograms actually crossed above the high line. That means it ticked the box for entry. So I set up a short at 3386.85, with the stop loss just 50 pips above at 3391.85, and the take profit way down at 3366.85. Again, that's sticking to the rules. A minimum 200 pip target, no exceptions. Lot size is fixed at 0.05 lots to keep the risk consistent. Now, honestly, I wasn't super confident at the entry because gold had been pushing up pretty strong before the signal came in. But rules are rules, and since the setup qualified, I pulled the trigger. TP hit clean. Price actually rolled over nicely. It took a bit of patience, but eventually it hit the full 200 pip target. That's a plus $100 win, and exactly the kind of move we're hoping for in this challenge. So after 3 trades, we've got 1 loss and 2 solid wins. The momentum's looking good. Let's see if this can keep building. Moving on to trade 4, we got a bearish signal here. So I entered short at 3401.36 with a 50 pip stop loss, sitting at 3406.36 and a 200 pip target down at 3381.36. The lot size is still fixed at 0.05. Now, since we had some wins earlier, I wasn't too worried about taking this one. The setup fit the rules. Bearish divergence plus one of the histograms is at the high line, and that's the beauty of this Smart Oscillator. It marks those momentum shifts really clearly, so I don't have to second guess. So, yeah, I had to take the shot. But, yeah, gold pushed higher instead and clipped the stop loss. That's another minus $25. Not fun, but the account balance now sits at $250. It's still nicely above where we started, but you can see how the wins and losses swing the equity around. Alright, so trade 5 was a buy setup off a bullish divergence on the Smart Oscillator. The histograms are pushed below the low line and then give the signal below it. I entered at 3356.73, stop loss set at 3351.73, and target up at 3376.73. That's the usual 50 pip stop and 200 pip target. The lot size stays fixed at 0.05. Stop loss hit. Now, here's the kicker. Price actually pushed up about 60 pips in profit before snapping back and hitting the stop. Honestly, if this wasn't a challenge, and I was trading normally with a smaller target like 50 pips, that could have been an easy win. But since this experiment is all about going for those big 200 pip reversals, we stick to the rules. And that means this one closed for a minus $25. Still, no complaints. Even with this loss, the account is sitting at more than double from where we started, thanks to those earlier big wins. That's the trade-off with a 1 to 3 risk to reward. Fewer winners, but when they hit big. This one was a sell setup off a bearish divergence on the Smart Oscillator. The histogram actually broke above the high line and then rolled over, which ticked all the boxes for an entry. I sold at 3350.90, stop loss at 3355.90, and target way down at 3330.90. Again, keeping the 50 pip stop and 200 pip target consistent. The lot size is fixed at 0.05. Price didn't give me any chance here. It climbed straight into the stop loss at 3355.90, so that's another minus $25 off the balance. That's the frustrating part about sticking to mechanical rules. Sometimes the setup looks clean, the divergence lines up, but the market just doesn't care. Alright guys, that was the last setup for this 200 pip reversal challenge. And as you've seen, out of all the trades we took, only 2 actually managed to hit the full 200 pip target. The rest either stalled, reversed, or smacked right into stop loss. Now, obviously, this kind of challenge isn't the most practical way to trade, especially on the 5-minute chart for gold. Holding for 200 pips on such a small time frame is a huge ask. But honestly, that was the whole point of this test. I just wanted to see if the Smart Oscillator could give me clean reversal spots, and whether those signals had enough strength to survive when aiming for such a big target. So even though most trades didn't make it, the experiment still gave me insight. It showed that the indicator does pick up solid reversals, but maybe the 200 pip minimum is just too extreme for scalping timeframes. At the end of the day, this wasn't about making the perfect strategy. It was about stress testing an idea and seeing how it holds up. Full disclaimer, this is an invite-only indicator on TradingView. If you want to check it out, I've dropped the link down in the description. And as always, if you enjoyed this kind of raw trading experiment, make sure to drop a like, leave a comment with what you want me to test next, and subscribe if you haven't already. As always, trade smart, stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.